Welcome back to Earth-Centric Lighting Podcast, where we talk about light, not just as a technology, but as a force that shapes our mood, our biology, and the stories we tell ourselves. Today's episode is personal. It's about the voices we carry, the ones that aren't ours, and how to reclaim the light inside us when fear, shame, and doubt have dimmed it. So I grew up with a father who used fear and shame as tools. If I succeeded, he mocked it. If I tried something new, he questioned it. If I showed an ounce of confidence, he was quick to cut it down. And later in life, when I reached out for help, I ended up with therapists who talked about toxic masculinity or shared stories of extreme cases, things I had never done, things I never thought about, never even been close to. But hearing those stories made me feel contaminated by association, like being a man meant being dangerous. Then came the parenting experts, telling me I had to label every emotion, create perfect psychological safety, let my kids make every decision on their own. And when starting my business, I was reaching out for guidance and advice, and business consultants and successful business owners were telling me to use fear, scarcity, and manipulation to close deals. Everywhere I turned, someone was telling me I wasn't enough, or that I was too much, or that I was doing it wrong. And all those voices piled up until I couldn't even sit at my computer without hearing them. But then I finally realized that none of those voices were mine. None of those stories belonged to me. None of those fears were my truth. I'd been living inside other people's narratives, people who projected their own wounds, their own fears, their own insecurities onto me. And I had a choice: keep carrying their shadows or turn on my own light. And if you've been struggling with this right now, and this sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. And I want to speak to you clearly, steadily, and without any noise that has been forced into your head over the years. What you're experiencing is not being weak. It's not being dramatic. It's what happens when too many external voices have been allowed to speak with authority inside your mind. For me, it was my father's voice, a therapist who crossed emotional boundaries, parenting experts who made me feel like I was one mistake away from ruining my kids. None of those voices belong in the command center of my mind or my life, and they don't for you either. You need a way to interrupt the intrusion, reclaim your internal space, and step into work and life as the person you actually are, not who those voices said you were. So I want to help you guys build something practical, grounded, and safe that you can use every single day. But first, here's the truth from me to you that I want you to hear. I want you to anchor to. You're not dangerous. You're not toxic. You're not a threat to your kids. You're not your parents. You're not the person your therapist described. You're not the worst case scenario your fear imagines. You're hypervigilant because you care. You're someone who wants to protect, provide, and lead with integrity. And you're someone trying to build a life that others can stand on and help other people out. That's not danger. That's devotion. So it's time to reclaim your voice, your power, your strength, and your light. I got to say this too, because when I was going to therapy, of course I couldn't express my fears, my doubts, because the therapists were the ones that put those seeds of fear in my heart and in my mind. So originally, I wanted help building confidence. I was afraid of starting a new business, of being a parent, normal human fears, and they pathologized normal human experiences and emotions and made me feel like there was something inside me that needed to be fixed. So, if you've been going through this, I want to give you guys some tips and tricks here, because when I sat at my computer, like I was saying, I couldn't even sit there without thinking about all this stuff, all this fear, all this worries. But I got a technique that's going to help you out. And it's intended for grounding, interrupting shame, and reclaiming your identity. And it's called the Not My Voice Interrupt. So when shame or fear hits, I put a hand on my chest, I exhale, and I say, not my voice, not my story. It interrupts the old wiring, and it reminds me that I'm the adult now. Another thing that I do now is before sitting at my workstation, I stand behind my chair, I take a breath, and I think, this is my craft, my work, my life. I sit here as the person I choose to be. It sounds simple, but it resets my nervous system. Another technique you can use, the threshold ritual. So when I walk into my home, I imagine a line across the doorway. I say in my mind, everything from before stays outside. Only the man I choose to be walks in. And you can say man or woman, whatever pertains to you that you want to use here. Um, and another good one for reclaiming my identity, and I just want to put a little asterisk here, because I read this book called New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and he talks a lot about presence and the phrase "I am," and that's what you need to hold with you all day. And that presence is really good for staying calm and grounding your mind, uh, but it's not good for people who are trying to recover from shame, uh, embrace empowering masculinity, for people who are trying to build a business, be a parent, go about life and do daily things. Because if I just live, or if you or anyone just lives in I am all day, all you would do is sit and be present. Presence is the soil, the tree is your identity. You're not supposed to be soil forever or dissolve into nothingness. You're supposed to grow into the person that you're becoming. So embracing an identity is actually a really good, healthy thing that you need for creativity, building a life, and going about your day. And it's up to you to choose who you want to be. So I have a morning script and an evening script that I read that's pretty specific for the things that I want. But if you're looking for something to grab onto that might just help you out a little bit, I want to give you uh, an idea here. So before I start my day, you can say, I build a life for my family. I create beauty and safety through my work. I show up because it matters. Because the other thing that comes up a lot, I know, is discipline. And again, a lot of these other external voices are, again, them almost telling you that you're not being disciplined makes you feel shame about and not want to show up for work. It like kind of has the opposite effect. So discipline isn't developed through fear. It's not something that's going to motivate you to want to do it. Discipline is developed by identity. Reclaiming your identity and who you are is very powerful for creating discipline for the life that you want to build. So, since this is a lighting podcast, how is it titled Lighting? Light isn't something we just design, it's something we become. Electric light changes mood, focus, productivity, sleep, emotional regulation, the feeling of safety in a space. And just like a room can be transformed by adjusting the light, a person can be transformed by adjusting their internal light, the stories they allow to illuminate their mind. When you change the light, you change the experience. When you change the story, you change the life. If you're listening to this and you've been carrying voices that aren't yours, maybe they're voices of a parent, a boss, a therapist, an expert, a critic, I want you to hear this. You are not their story. You are not their fear. You are not their shame. You're not their projection. You get to choose the light you live in. You get to choose the narrative you build your life around. You get to choose the man or woman that you become. Just like I was saying when these business experts were telling me to use fear, manipulation, and tricks, and that did not align with me or my values. I'm like, there's got to be another way to do this. So, like I was saying in the morning script, with just the 3 lines I gave you of I build a life for my family, I create beauty and safety through my work, I show up because it matters. That's an example of something that you can use. My morning script is longer, but it's also about creating abundance. And it's about, I have a line in there that says, I build my business with trust, not tricks. So that way I can show up for my clients as who I am instead of worrying about trying to get them to come up with the idea or get them to lead them into making a decision. I actually have a line in there that my clients feel my clients aren't motivated by fear. They're motivated by confidence, trust, and safety. And I give them that. And it feels a lot more aligned with my values. So I'm actually speaking truthfully and confidently now with clients when I interact with them instead of trying to worry about what the other experts would tell me to do to manipulate them. And then I have another line in there too that's I can do it the right way, even if it's harder. So yeah, fear might make me money quick, but building confidence, trust, and reliability is going to create customers that are going to want to work with me again in the future. And that's integrity. And that's something that is a masculine trait, and it's not toxic at all. So I want you to know that your inner light is not fragile. It's not broken. It's not gone. It's just been covered by voices that never belonged to you. And the moment you start turning toward your own light, your own identity, your own values, your own truth, everything changes. Thank you for listening. And remember, light isn't just something you design, it's something you embody.